So I'm gonna say something that's gonna scare a lot of you in the audience. I dropped out of high school because of the internet. School had never really been a fun place for me. Growing up, I was bullied, and I was thrown from a small town in the mountains of Southern California into a city that was so well known that it was name dropped in a Snoop Dogg song, Palm Springs. Honestly, I was a loser and an easy target to be bullied. It hurt to be picked on by people who didn't know me. But what hurt worse were bystanders, the people who saw what was happening to me and made a conscious choice not to help me. Not only was school awful, but so was home. In social media, one of the common practices is using algorithms to recommend content. However, what they don't tell you is that each thing they recommend is a bit more extreme and more intense than the last. All of it is just to keep you on the site longer, collect more data, and show you more ads. I watched as these algorithms turned my parent from a moderate conservative into an abusive person who thought the Holocaust was faked, the earth was flat, and that homosexuality was invented by the devil to trick more people into going to hell. And above all, who thought the best way to deal with that anger was to take it out on me. I watched every day as these unethical practices turned someone who was supposed to love me into someone who I couldn't trust or recognize. I had no support, no friends, no family, and no escape. I developed anxiety and depression and an eating disorder halfway through my 6th grade year. By my 7th, I was writing suicide notes to my dad. And 4 years later, I was diagnosed with one of the most severe forms of PTSD that someone could have, all before my 17th birthday next month. I found refuge in the same thing that destroyed my relationship with my guardian: technology. You know that moment in a romantic comedy where the two love interests lock eyes across the room, they look at each other, and you're like, wow, they were meant to be together forever. That was me and my computer. For me, my mental illness was self-destructive. I consistently tore myself down. But coding was the one thing that allowed me to build myself back up. No matter what I was feeling, I could take that energy and turn it into code. When someone is mentally ill, we always say the same thing: go get help. Well, I searched everywhere for help. Help that would just give me the strength to leave high school alive. I found that there was no way that I would be able to get help for my mental illnesses without alerting my parent and putting me in more danger. So I did the only thing that I could at the time. I illegally downloaded a psychology textbook, and I taught myself coping techniques just to make it to the next day. When things got better, and I became one of the first Code with Glossy scholars in 2015, I realized I could create a place where people who were mentally ill could learn everything they need to know to recover and have tools to sustain themselves until they could go to professionals of mental health. And so I built an app called Anxiety Helper, which provides information, resources, and cognitive behavioral therapy to help those who are struggling with mental illness. And I launched it when I was 13. And And each day after that, I used it as my purpose. Each user I got was another reason to stay alive. And to keep each of them safe, I got up at 6 a.m., went to school, and worked on the app until 1 or 2 in the morning, 5 days a week. I built Anxiety Helper because I wanted people to be safe. And when issues arose in 2016, I knew that I had to do that again. Over half of my friends were LGBTQ+, including me. As the year went on, we saw the Pulse shooting, and I saw my friends sacrifice their childhood for their safety. When my friends were the subject of abuse, hate crimes, bullying, and more, I realized the only solution at that time was to just not be gay. People treated these hate crimes like they were a side effect of someone's sexuality. If you went to a hospital looking for treatment for asthma, you really wouldn't like it if your doctor said to you, well, that's the cost of choosing to breathe. This problem was completely ignored and pushed off. we wouldn't treat a third-degree burn like it was a sunburn. So why did my school treat hate crimes against my LGBTQ+ friends like it was common bullying? After hearing my mom recommend to my lesbian friend a trip to conversion therapy while I was still in the closet, I decided to build a second app called Verena, which is a fully encrypted security system for members of the LGBTQ+ community. The app allows them to anonymously alert contacts in the event of an emergency without leaving a trace on their phone, as well as allowing them to save incidents to report later, find places near them in an emergency, and has a timer that alerts contacts with their location in case they don't make it home on time. And above all, it hides itself as a math help app in case an abusive parent or partner finds it. So last January, I left high school halfway through my sophomore year, and I decided to move to Los Angeles with my dad to escape my abusive home. I started a homeschooling program, and I worked anywhere from 10 to 24 hours a day. I dedicated my life to using technology to help people. And in December, I was given a $25,000 grant from Tom's. And so I basically did what any normal teenager would do. I dropped out of high school, and I started my own nonprofit software development company called Astra to continue helping people with technology. I created Astra because I wanted to make technology work for good, with no strings attached. As of now, we have over 83,000 users around the globe, and we're launching 2 more apps in 2 years. One to help protesters and activists using blockchain and encryption, and the other to help those with schizophrenia and psychosis using machine learning and visual object detection. I would love to say that I have been enjoying dedicating every minute of my life to helping others, but that would be a lie. I would love to tell you that it's not exhausting, that it pays well or at all, and that people treat me with respect, but I would be lying to you. And I would be lying to say that action is important. Action is not important. It's mandatory. We can sit and critique things that oppress us until we are crushed by our own frustration. However, this system, this government, and this world that hurts us will continue to hurt us until we all decide to join the effort to fix it. Things won't get better unless we make them. Like the activists and advocates before me, I'm gonna try and fix the systems that try to push me underneath them. But I can't do it alone. We have a responsibility, not only as women, but as people on this earth, to make sure that we do our best to improve or destroy things that oppress us or those less fortunate than us. If we have the ability to be fighting, then we need to be for the people that don't have that ability. When someone sees others hurt by something and they refuse to do anything because they don't want to make a choice, they do make a choice, and they choose to become a bystander. Choosing neutrality in the face of conflict because it quote-unquote doesn't affect them is exactly how the bullies of this world continue to hurt people. If someone accidentally breaks the plate in front of you and you close your eyes and leave, it doesn't stop the plate from breaking. It just allows you to remove yourself from the responsibility of dealing with that aftermath. So if you see something wrong, fix it. If you see someone hurt, help them. If you're not trying to be a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem. You are the only person who can see things through your own eyes. And because of that, if you find a solution, you need to make it a reality. If you don't do something, who else will? Thank you. Who would have fought for a middle school Amanda who only knows a world so mean and abusive that she started planning her own funeral? Who would have fought for my friend who, after she came out on Facebook, had her cousins come to her house and beat her for being a disgrace to her family? I honestly don't know. And that's why I had to fight. And now we need to continue to fight for solutions. For the 1 in 6 girls everywhere who have been or will be raped. For the veterans overseas coming back with PTSD in numbers we don't have the resources to treat. For the trans women of color, whose life expectancy is barely 35 because of the rate of murder and suicide. For the 56% of mentally ill people everywhere who don't receive treatment. And for the numerous people who need us to step up and use our voices to advocate on their behalf. The future is honestly uncertain and terrifying. And the future is not guaranteed for anyone. I'm doing everything I can to make sure people get there safely. Are you? Thank you.